On December 7th, 1941, I am a fisherman on the coast of British Columbia. Nothing more, nothing less. On December 8th, 1941, Japan bombs Pearl Harbor, and suddenly a Japanese invasion becomes a true threat to Canada. On December 28th, 1941, Japan attacks Hong Kong, killing 2,000 Canadian soldiers. And then comes my apocalypse. I was no longer just a simple fisherman, according to the press, the police, the politicians. Instead, they call me traitor, alien, undesirable, menace. Why? Because my father had once upon a time called Japan home? Because we spoke in tongues no one else could understand? Because I was different? They never told me why, but more than that, I never asked. We were born and raised to a cultural code that emphasized duties like Gaman or forbearance. Forbearance is to be able to overcome challenges without complaint. So I didn't resist when they stripped me of my fishing boat, didn't resist when my curfew became dawn to dusk, and I didn't resist when they gave us 24 hours to pack a single suitcase and leave. The rest of our property would be temporarily confiscated. Protective custody, they called it. The blatant suspicion the RCMP officer radiated indicated otherwise. Leave when? Leave where? Leave how? These questions remain unspoken as I warily bring my meager possessions and board a train with hundreds of other people like me. Next stop? Nowhere, also known as Hastings Park. When there, everyone is assigned a stall, stalls meant for horses, for cattle, and now for Japanese Canadians. No running water, no electricity, nothing but the clothes on our backs, the salvation of a single suitcase, and our tenaciously unrelenting pride. Gaman, I tell myself, Gaman. March 21st, 1941, a train arrives to bring us to a camp further inland. We arrived at Yellowhead Road Camp, eastern British Columbia, and were promptly put to work. Rather than brute force, I am now a prisoner of location. The other men and I began work building roads, and I knew, of course, that roads must have a beginning and an end, but in stark reality, everywhere is nowhere, the wilderness stretching in all directions. At least there was comfort in the familiarity of routine. Every day consisted of 3 meals of a set menu, 2 pieces of toast for breakfast, a dry plain sandwich for lunch, and beef stew with bread for dinner. A cup of tea was allowed with every meal. Labor consisted of cutting down tree after tree after tree after tree after tree after tree to clear a path for building roads. This routine remains agonizingly familiar to me for the next few years. Finally, the war ended, but my hell did not. My greatest treasure, my fishing boat, had been sold, along with the small house I had bought with my humble savings as a fisherman. King told me to choose deportation to a war-ravaged Japan, or moving east of the British Columbia I call home. Either way, I could not return home. I decided to stay in Canada, difficult as it may be, to construct a new life from the ashes. I headed further east, settled in Toronto, and even found a family. But it is not until years later, September 22nd, 1988, that I find full closure as the Canadian government offers a formal apology and recognition of the injustices done to my brethren and I. So at long last, I sign off with shaking hands as this memoir comes to a close.
In offering to Japanese Canadians the formal and sincere apology